Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, welcome to my channel for the first time. My name is Elizabeth. I like to do home renovation, home remodel projects, and today we are working on my bathroom. We bought our house a few months ago, and when we came and did our first walkthrough to see it, this bathroom actually had a plain wooden vanity with no countertop or anything, so we didn't really know what it was going to look like when we moved in. From the time that we first toured versus when we went and did our final walkthrough, they painted this vanity white and got us a gray countertop. This was not my original vision for this bathroom. I wanted something white, but now that the whole project is done, I love the gray. This gray and white kind of gave me a vision for the whole space, but everything else in here needed to be updated. I wanted to add a frame around the mirror. I wanted to paint all of the trim like the whole house. This bathroom had the ugliest cream color trim and door. I wanted to update all of that. I wanted to take out the old medicine cabinet above the toilet, and I just really wanted to update this space and make it a little bit more modern. Not only did that include doing everything paint-wise in here, but also updating the outlet, updating the door hardware, and updating the floor. To start the project, I actually took down the medicine cabinet above the toilet. I ended up selling this on Facebook Marketplace, so I kind of turned around and made a little profit, which was nice. Taking this down was pretty easy. I just used a drill and screwdrivers. Once that was out of the way, I started sanding down the walls, and I covered up the toilet so that I wouldn't get any paint on it. I also filled the previous nail holes that were in place and then sanded those areas down also. I just used some leftover joint compound. I don't know if this is the best or not. This is just what I had extra looking through our garage, so this is what I patched the holes with. It's not what I normally use, but it did the job. Once everything was sanded down, I put out frog tape. I like frog tape more than painter's tape. I think it does a much better job. A lot of people have asked me about the color that I chose for this bathroom. I cannot give you an actual color. I paint matched the Floor Pops floor tiles that I had. They're a gray and white and blue color, and I just took one of them into Home Depot and said, hey, I want you to match this blue, and this is kind of what it came up with. So I originally started with just 1 quart of paint, but these walls in here were so heavily textured. If I could go back and do it again, I would actually really sand down the walls instead of just sanding down where I patched things on. I would have given it a thorough sanding, made the walls much more smooth, and it would have let the paint go on a little bit easier and not taken as much, but it ended up taking a little less than half a gallon. The color looked great at first, but I actually really like how it came together in the space after it's done. I did end up getting a little bit thicker of a roller for the wall, just because it was a little bit textured. I probably could have gone with just a regular one, but I went with this one instead. I also ended up getting special outlets for the bathroom since it's within 3 feet of a water source. However, since our house was built so long ago, back in, I believe it was the 80s, the outlet that I picked out and bought was wrong the first time. I took it back and got a second one, wrong the second time. Turns out our house is just wired really badly, so they did it it's not up to standard for the way they build houses now, so we just have a regular outlet in here now, but that's why I originally got other things. It's really nice because I've been going to Home Depot so much and they do the 11% rebate, so a lot of this project was funded with money from that and plus money from selling the old cabinet that was in here. So this project I only spent I think about $50, and I think that's pretty good. After all the walls were painted, I went through with Ultra Pure White by Behr. I used a semi-gloss finish. This is what I had left over from my hallway upstairs. I used this paint to do all of the trim and then the door. I wasn't too worried about getting stuff on the floor because I knew I was going to use the Floor Pops in here, so I wasn't being super careful. After the walls and trim were painted, I put back on the toilet paper holder and towel holder. I thought this would be really hard to do just by looking at them, but it actually ended up being super easy, so don't be intimidated by something little like that at the start of a project. After all this was done, it was time to work on my door. If you guys missed my hallway remodel, I will link it up here, but I did not go through the process of the door again. I explained all of that in my hallway video upstairs because I did 4 doors up there. This time it was so much easier to sand and paint and everything like that. So by the time I'm on my 5th door, I'm like a pro, and this was much, much easier. It only took a day to do the door this time. While the door was drying, I came back inside and started putting up the new shelving above the toilet. This is actually all stuff that I had left over from our old house. I'd gotten the black shelf brackets for a project that I intended on working on before we wanted to sell our house from Home Depot. They were only a couple dollars each. I just threw them aside and didn't think anything of it because I wasn't going to work on anything else if I knew we were going to sell the house. I also found those white shelves that were left over in our old garage, so I just took them with me because I knew I'd find a use for them here. And so now they are shelving above our toilet. I like this so much better. It's so much more modern. To hide the silverness of the screws that I used to put them in the wall, I just took some leftover black paint that I had for our old office and just dipped my finger in it and touched up where the screws were going in just to make it look nice and finished. I also drilled holes into the shelving so that I would be able to attach the shelves and not worry about them falling off. After this, I went through and completely cleaned and vacuumed the old tile that was here. I went through and swept everything out and then got down and scrubbed the floor. In reality, looking back, all of the knowledge I now have about floor pops, after my research, now that it's done, I should have used acetone to clean the floor to get rid of absolutely everything, and so that the floor pops would have been able to have a better stick to the ground, because I struggle with all of that. I would not say that my experience with floor pops was very positive. First, I ordered them all on Amazon, verified and sold by Amazon, so that's not the issue. They arrive, I got 2 boxes at first. Every single one that came had either a rust mark, it looked like a dirt mark, or actual, like the vinyl tile was ripped and scratched, and I had been on back order for them, waiting for them to come back in stock. So I was like, I can't just send these back, I need to finish this project, so I just kept the box, and then I ended up running out because they're a pain in the butt to cut and measure and all of that stuff too. So I ended up ordering a 3rd box because I needed extras. And that box did not come with as many problems. So I don't know if I got like just a bad batch at first or not, but you know, putting down the floor pops was an absolute struggle. I really hated it. I would never, ever, ever use them again if I was going to be like in a bathroom that actually had a lot of water in it, like with a bathtub or shower. That's why I decided to start in this room, because there is only a toilet and a sink and no one will be showering in here. These tiles were the worst to try to stick on the floor. They didn't want to stick. They kept popping up, cutting around the edges. They just, it was a mess. I can't even express to you how irritated I was with it. And I promised that I was going to narrate through this whole video, but I was so frustrated that I actually vlogged while I was in the middle of this absolute mess. So I'll put some of that in here now. I am honestly to the point where I want to give up with these floor pops. I thought this idea was so great. I'm not even done installing them and they're all like popping up off of the floor. Popping up already, like look. All of them. And then they don't go down evenly. There's constantly like, I literally laid this one like 2 seconds ago. They're not gonna last. And I'm extremely disappointed that I spent like 20 bucks per box. I got them on Amazon. A pack of 10 was $19 and some change. So 20 bucks for 10, that's $2 each. They suck. I'm glad that we'll be replacing this floor in the future eventually, but like I've made it this far and just have a few around the toilet to go. But even the ones that I haven't been cutting are popping up. So they get a giant thumbs down from me. I was planning on doing these in the basement bathroom also. I would never in a million years put these in a bathroom with water. That bathroom has a shower, so that is a huge no from me. I did go out yesterday and get some caulk to do the edges because it needs it, absolutely. There's no way that this will look okay without it. This was just going to be a video of me talking at the end and telling you about the process, but I am so frustrated with these and I absolutely so much don't recommend them that I just need to stop that process of me explaining how great the bathroom looks when it's done and just tell you these suck. Do not get floor pops. Obviously I was really frustrated that nothing would stick. It would keep popping up and run into problems like that. I did end up going through and caulking the edges because they just looked awful and I needed something to be my saving grace. So I went through and learned how to caulk them on the edges. It looks pretty good now. It did help a lot. And then on the ones that were popping up, I just like caulked in between the edges of the tiles. And I know you're like probably not supposed to do that. It did help a little bit. I think if I would have used grout, I did a lot of research. Some people do grout these, but I'm like, they're peel and stick tiles. If I wanted to use grout, I would have gotten real tiles. But I will say after so long of having them down, I feel like they're better, but they're not a permanent solution. When we redo all of our flooring down here, these will probably come up and we'll replace it with something more permanent. When I refinished the door hardware, I also redid the door stopper because I wanted it to just be black also. It was very, very rough before, so I just spray painted that also. I got the door handles back in. They look great. I also used the door hinges that I got in my previous video for the door hinges upstairs off of Amazon. I will link those down below in my Amazon shop. I totally recommend them. Absolutely love them. At this point, the bathroom seemed to be coming together really, really well. It was looking great, and I just decided there was just one more little thing I wanted to add, and that was a border around the mirror. I did a ton of research, and I was told this was going to be super, super, super easy, so I was like, all right, awesome, I got this. Let's add it to the list. We can do this. I went to Home Depot, and I picked out just some regular trim, baseboard, whatever, and there was actually a guy there who was super nice. He was like, oh yeah, I can help you measure it and cut it and all of that. So like, awesome, because I did not have a saw here, and I was like, I'm gonna have to ask someone to borrow one anyway. But he was like, oh no, I'll help you. And I was like, awesome, you were the best. And I gave him the measurements. He cut them at an angle for me and everything. I was so, so happy. I got my measurements wrong, so I had to do a little work once I got home, and I decided that the best way to do that would be using my electric sander that I have, going through on the edges and just trimming off just a little bit on all the sides. And I mean, that worked great. But now all of my angles were off. It's not perfect, but you know what? It's perfect for now. I ended up putting the border up onto the mirror with liquid nails and then holding it up with the painter's tape to just hold it in place. I had to go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth and back and forth to try to get these pieces to size, and hopefully the angles would match up. It just did not work, but you know what? It's a-okay. I am not worried about it at this point. I think it looks better than it did before, and that's all that I'm worried about. Once it was up, I did end up scratching it when I was sanding it, so I went through and just touched up with white paint, the same white that I used on the door and on the trim, and then I went through and caulked between the edges of each like corner to make sure that it would look a little bit nicer. And after this, the bathroom was pretty much done. I went through and got some fresh hand towels from Target out of everywhere that I shopped around. They seem to have the cheapest ones. They were like $5 or $6 each, which is pretty good. And then I also got a new soap dispenser, which I think really brings the space in together because we've just been using the plastic ones before. And then this is better for the environment because I can just get the bags of soap, you know? The one thing that I did not do was change out the yellow bulb that we have in the light fixture up there. I'm not worried about this right now. The lighting is fine. I will fix this in the future though. And then I just finalized everything by decorating the shelves with stuff that we already had, and we're pretty good to go. Overall, I am very, very, very pleased with how this bathroom turned out. I am obsessed that it looks so much better than it did before. I'm a little bit disappointed in the flooring and the trim around the mirror, but honestly, nothing's perfect, and this was just my trial run for the guest bathroom upstairs, so we're good. But yeah, that is pretty much it for today's video. I hope that you guys enjoyed it. Give it a thumbs up if you did. I spent hours and hours and hours and hours and hours working on this room, and you know, I'd appreciate it if you showed it some love, you know? Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to subscribe to my channel because I will have some more fun videos coming out soon. This is in the middle of my busy season right now, so this was just a project I did to like relax outside of work. But once December hits and I'm not in my busy season anymore, we're going to be working on home renovation projects so often, so you guys will get so much more in these videos. But thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!